What if the internet just stopped working for an entire week? What would happen then? Would people panic? Could the economy handle it? And would we even notice if the internet just magically disappeared? The internet is so ingrained into our daily lives that it's hard to imagine life without it. But it wasn't all that long ago that the internet was barely a thing. In 1995, for example, only about 2% of Americans had internet access at home. So what would happen if the internet just shut down for a whole week? Here are a few things to consider. At 10:59 a.m. on October 2021, the entire internet as we know it will cease to exist. Seriously, at this exact moment, all web servers across the globe will simultaneously crash and every connected device will disconnect from the network. People would probably start to panic within minutes. Major news networks would quickly report on the outage and people would take to social media to try and figure out what happened. Wait, hold on. If the internet is down, then people wouldn't be able to post on social media. Ah man, I need to get that fixed. And while people were freaking out, emergency services would likely see a huge spike in calls with people reporting various issues, everything from car accidents to fights with neighbors. People have become so reliant on technology that a lot of basic tasks such as operating a vehicle or even making a phone call have been offloaded to the cloud. GPS systems would stop working, and people would revert to using outdated map apps or worse, trying to read a physical map. Many drivers would probably get lost or end up in the wrong places altogether. Financial markets would also quickly begin to panic. Investors would try to contact their brokers only to find out that they couldn't get through. The New York Stock Exchange would halt trading due to the outage and the price of oil could skyrocket since most trading is done electronically. An outage like this could very well cause a global financial crisis. But there was one industry that would actually benefit from this outage: newspapers. With the internet down, people would likely go back to reading physical newspapers to catch up on current events. So, if you're a newspaper tycoon, now's the time to make your move. Just don't do what this guy did. Many people would try to use their phones to get online, but would quickly realize that they couldn't load any websites or send any text messages. Most phones rely on the internet to function properly, and many new models can't even send a text message over a cellular network. Without Google, people would likely revert to using their phones as just a way to make phone calls. Yeah, just like the old days. The outage would also affect the airline industry. Flight delays and cancellations would quickly begin to pile up as airlines scrambled to figure out how to operate without internet. Eventually, airports would need to resort to using paper tickets, and passengers would need to check in for their flights in person. That would be quite the hassle. And speaking of travel, anyone planning on driving somewhere would need to make some serious adjustments to their plans. Without Google Maps, it would be incredibly difficult to navigate to unfamiliar places. Even locals would struggle to get around since all the smart devices in their home, like their thermostats and kitchen appliances, would no longer work. People would need to manually adjust their thermostats and cook on their non-smart appliances. Some industries, however, would actually thrive during this outage. For example, board games would likely see a huge surge in sales as people looked for ways to entertain themselves offline. Similarly, streaming services would likely see a huge spike in sign-ups as people tried to find ways to pass the time. Hey, at least there's plenty of shows to binge-watch since there's no new episodes coming out. Without the internet, the world would quickly descend into chaos. Cars would pile up on the side of the road, flights would be canceled, and people would panic as they realized that they couldn't order their favorite Doritos flavors online. But it's not all bad. You might enjoy the peace and quiet. For once, it would be nice to disconnect from all the noise and go for a walk without getting lost or run the risk of getting kidnapped by a human trafficker who was tracking my location. No thanks. Now check out What If the Moon Suddenly Disappeared. Or click this other video instead.